Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the War Room. I have to kind of be quiet here. My family is now asleep. I was going to try and get on at about 11 p.m., and, being a dad and also having a hurt leg, all kinds of problems and crap going on, it is very easy for you to lose track of everything. So I have myself up and going here. All right. Let's double check here. Okay. All right. So let's get on my Discord here. Yes, streamer mode is enabled. All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are having a great night. It is 11:20 p.m. in the good old Midwest of the United States of America. So I am coming to you loud with some information on SCS. We talked about the rules the other day, but we didn't go over the exploitation and overrun rules. So let me go ahead and get that actually. Let me go ahead and get to my screen. In case you're wondering, this is a scene from War Games. Great movie. If you've never seen it, a very young Matthew Broderick. Very good game. They were even back then talking about how AI would be our death. And here we have AI everywhere. Looks like we don't give a shit. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's just get to where we need to go here. Overrun combat. There we go. Overrun. Okay, so whenever I go about my business and I am teaching people games, my number one way of teaching games is very slow. We don't put in all the options. We don't put in all the crap. We don't put in any extra stuff. I don't care about what edition I'm playing as. I'll take the first edition. I don't care. The objective of the learning session is to get people used to what is the game or the system that I'm trying to teach. In this case, SCS. All right. So I'm not worried about a bunch of crap. Now there are some rules in SCS that I don't usually include right away, and that is usually overrun combat and exploitation. Okay. The reason I don't allow that. Oh, hello, Wardrobe. I see you. Welcome. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Fighting formations while you're doing. Okay. Cool. Thank you for joining up. I appreciate you showing up. I don't get many people that comment, so I appreciate it. All right. One of the things I don't teach is overrun combat, and I don't teach exploitation right away. In any SCS or OCS game, I just teach people to, hey, move your pieces, move them around, see how that looks and feels and all that stuff. I'm not worried about all the little extra, karate stuff that you could do in the middle of a game. I'll get some water here. Man, I tell you, this weather and the allergies have been crazy. All right, so let's go over overrun combat first, and let's then go into exploitation. They're very much alike, but they're also very different. Okay, so overrun combat. Let me, before I even do this, let me get my game up and running. That'd be smart. Okay, let's get Africa. Post-nasal drip and cramp. It's just always something. All right, war room. Select setup. We'll do the cancel. Let's get the game. Let's get a save game going. Let's do that. Okay. Let's load a save game. Okay. War room. All right. Let's do one of mine that I'm already doing with someone. Okay, Africa War. There we go. No. Okay. All right, so this is a game that I'm already in the middle of play. I'm going to move some pieces around here. I'm not saving it anyway, so why the hell not, right? Use this for our example. So let's get a little bit closer here. All right. Overrun combat is a combined movement and combat, so it's doing both. At a 2 movement point cost, units can conduct an overrun attack during the movement or exploitation phases. To overrun as a stack, units must begin movement stacked. In other words, you have to be in a stack and you have to stay in that stack. Units must begin the movement stacked. Units that begin the phase in an enemy zone of control cannot overrun. Okay, so just to show you, I'm sure you're all very smart, but we'll just do this. For example, this unit here, because he's already in the enemy zone of control, he cannot overrun at all. Okay, he's too close. He needs some space. All right. It says here, units that overrun can stack with those which aren't adjacent to the target hex, and that the hex stacking total must be within the stacking limit. So you can't go over, even if it's just temporarily. Okay, adverse combat results only affect the units actually engaged in the overrun. Alright, so it sounds pretty much simple as it is. So from what I understand already, if you're in a stack and you're about to do an overrun combat, you have to stay stacked together in that stack. You cannot be in an enemy zone of control. Alright, and you're going to eat up at least 2 movement point cost to added to do that. So you're going to be moving plus 2 movement points in order to make that attack. So you have to check all the units in that stack to make sure that they have enough movement cost in order to do it. Alright, the player moves a unit or stack adjacent to a target hex, paying the terrain's cost and any enemy zone of control cost. So let's talk about that. So for example, if we're going back here, these guys are going to overrun this dude. Alright, so I have to move like I normally would. Now the primary road in this particular scenario is half a point, so that's half a point. And then moving into the enemy zone of control is also 2 movement points. So I've just spent 2.5 movement points. All right, but since everybody has 8, was that? Wait, 8, 14 movement point, we're good. All right, very simple example here. The player calculates the odds, rolls a dice, and applies the combat results table as in any combat. So just like everything else. If all defending units vacate the target hex, the overrunning units must enter it. Okay. So, what does that mean here? Let's repeat that one, okay? If all defending units vacate the target hex, the overrunning units must enter it. So, if these guys here are our overrunning units, they move into here to pay all the costs. Remember, it's 2 movement points to enter the enemy zone of control, plus whatever the terrain is. Okay, and this guy loses. Let's say he loses, he moves back to whatever for defense. All right, here. Let's go. Let's start over. So he's going to pay his costs. Boom. He fights this dude. He has to go back 2 for whatever reasons. You have no choice. You have to move forward. You have to announce when you're going to do an overrun attack for this purpose, so that we know that you're going to be pushing forward. Why is that? Because there's a good chance you might overstretch yourself. And so you can't like, well, I didn't mean to push everybody through, or I wasn't really doing an overrun attack. No, once this is done, it's done. So if you got dudes that are here, you know, and you got a guy over here, you know, they might want to cut you off from your supply, right? So that's the reason why you have to announce your overrun attacks, and once you're committed, you're fully committed. Remember the fog of rule war in SCS games, okay? You know, here, let's just take a bunch of dudes here. Let's start this over again. All right, the fog of war rule. This is another reason why you have to announce if you're doing an overrun attack. In a fog of war rule, you only get to see the top chit of the stack. All right. So my Mr. Artillery 3-8, he's only seeing 3-2-18. I don't know what's under here. Now, this particular game, you can hover over and you can see what's under there. That's cheating. I don't know if there's a way to get rid of that in Vassal, but be mindful. You know, you could cheat if you want to, but why the hell would you do that, right? But anyway, once you make that decision, You're going to pay the hex cost, blah, blah, blah. You're going to go through the whole combat. Then you're going to find out what's underneath this hex. If you win, oh, you had to go back, whatever. You get to move in, and you have to move everybody in that's in that stack. So overrun is done during the movement phase. It is also combat. Okay. Let's go back to up here. 6.0a, resolve overruns like any other attack, but resolve them during the movement phase immediately after announcing them. This is the one time you can do it during your movement phase. That's not the combat. Overruns are not resolved in the defender's hex at all times. At all times, the attacking and defending stacks are in adjacent hexes. More than one. So let me read that one more time. Overruns are not resolved in the defender's hex. At all times, the attacking and defending stacks are in the adjacent hexes. Okay. More than one stack can never overrun a single target at once. I'm sorry, more than one stack can never overrun a single target at once. All right. So it's only one stack at a time. Units can overrun only those target hexes that would cost them 2 or less SPs to enter in regular movement. For this rule, use the target's hex rank cost only, ignoring enemy zones of control. If I sound confused, or if you're not sure, please let me know, and we'll go back and we'll go over it. But basically, they're saying the simple things of, only one stack. You can only do one attack on one target once. So, for example, if we overrun this guy and he comes back and we moved in here, you can't hit him again with another stack. You can't do that. Once he's done for an overrun. That's it. Okay? Restrictions. Only units allowed to move in the exploitation phase can overrun during that phase. Okay? So let's clarify what that is. All right? There are units that are meant for exploitation. So what it's saying is only units that are able to move during exploitation can overrun during this phase. So let's backtrack a little bit. I made a little mistake here, so let's go back. Let's pretend we didn't see this. Okay? Let's get rid of this guy, and let's get rid of that guy. All right, in this game, and it says in the Africa the Africa book for this rule set, when you see these little numbers, okay, that are outlined in a color, like the 4214 here. Okay, what's under here? 4214. Over here, you got 4318. You see how they're in yellow numbers? They're the only ones that are allowed to overrun or do exploitation. Those are specific units that can do it. So I apologize. You cannot use the second Libyan. You can't use the artillery. But here's the thing. They would still go with you. Remember, whoever you're stacked with goes with you. They just cannot use their numbers for the fight. So yes, you can push those guys in with these guys because you have to go in as a stack. There's no limitation on who you put into a stack. So basically imagine the army's just running in behind them. The artillery unit's running in behind them. But you cannot use the 3 and you cannot use the 4 in that attack. But these guys you can. So you're going up against a lot of dudes. Just make sure you know what you're doing when you do it. All right? Everybody clear on that? I hope so. Wardrobe, you heard that? All right. So let's go over those rules one more time. When you are doing an attack, and you're doing an overrun combat, whoever stack you're in, all those units have to go with you, so then you have to make sure all their movement points will fall into compliance. Okay, you have enough. So however many you want to move, it's fine. But remember, you got to pay that 2 movement point cost for the enemy zone of control, plus any terrain that you've got. All right? You cannot use the dudes to have just the regular colored numbers. Only the ones that have the specific outline colored numbers, like the second Libyan armor here. Okay, you got 2 of them, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, you got 2 regiments of that. All right. Okay, once you move in, once you attacked, Okay, you do your thing, right? If you win, they'll move back. And if they do move back, you have to immediately take the next spot. But remember, you might be pushing yourself further across that front line than you may want to. So just be mindful of stuff like that. All right, that is your overrun. That is done during your movement phase. It's a movement/combat in one shot. Okay. Overrun results. Overrun attackers can advance after combat, but regardless of the result, the overrun ends the regular movement for them. The attacking units must enter or traverse the defender's hex if it becomes vacant during an overrun. Apply any retreat results the attacker gets in an overrun. So as normal, as per usual, right? Let's see here. Combat. I don't want combat. I want exploitation. Okay. Is everybody clear on retreats? Should I go over the retreats rules? All right. Retreating is very simple. The retreat box is up here in the terrain. Just really quickly, whenever you roll, you figure out your odds, and if you hit something like this, all right. Let's say the attackers, they throw a really, really bad. Do I have a favorite SCS game? Wardrobe's asking. Yes. Not necessarily. I'm more of a bigger OCS fan. I've played Guderian's Blitzkrieg. I now have Third Winter I really want to play next. But now that I've gotten into SCS, I'm really excited about Iron Curtain. Iron Curtain, Central Europe. War in Central Europe. Also, Day of Days looks really, really cool. So retreat. Let's go back to retreat rules. The odds here will show you results. So let's say it's a 1-to-1 odds and the attacker rolls 2 dice. Really terrible roll. All right. The attacker is going to lose 2. The R says 1, which means he has to go backwards at least 1 time. Okay. So he'll take 2. Let's say he throws this guy away and let's say he flips him. All right. But let's say, remember, he has to go back 1, right? And the only place he can go is here, because this escarpment, you can't cross it. There's no passing. Because he's still in an enemy zone of control, he has to take another hit. Okay? So that could be very, very damning in your combat. Yeah, I remember you said that you were playing SCS Day of Days. I can't wait to get my hands on that. I got the game already. I just want to set up on my table. My favorite OCS right now was Guderian's Blitzkrieg. It was very fun. The original. I bought that and I sold it. But man, it was a really, really good game. Very big. Very detailed. I fell in love right away. So, all right. Oh, as I was saying, so when you retreat, if you retreat, but you go into an enemy zone of control after the retreat, you have to take another hit. All right. Same thing if you're surrounded. You just keep taking hits for every retreat movement that you have to take until you're either paid up or you're dead. All right. Just be mindful of also supply lines. You lose a supply line and you're done for. Okay. So we covered retreats. Let's go over. Yeah, the retreat path, same thing here. Let's see, advance after combat. Okay, let's do this one really quickly. I didn't really go over that a lot the other day. Advance after combat. So, if you do win the fight, so let's say the Italians win this fight and they move, but you didn't do the overrun combat. In overrun combat, yes, you do have to move forward. In exploitation, I think you do have to move forward as well. But if this was just a regular combat, you were already here, he was already here, and you win, that's complete choice of yours. You don't have to move in there. You can send one guy, you can send nobody, completely up to you. All right, so we covered that. All right, exploitation. Let's get into this one. All right. The exploitation phase allows friendly units that are specified as exploitation capable to move and conduct overrun attacks using their full movement allowance again. This is cool. So what this is saying is, let me set this back. All right. What this is saying is, he can overrun. He comes in, boom, oh shit, I gotta move back, and he takes a spot. And in exploitation, guess what? He can do it again. This guy can do it all over again because he has that little yellow box around his the unit's let me flip it back. The numbers. Okay, so let's get into that. Generally, only units with a colored box around their unit values are exploit capable. The game rules can also define other units or conditions to give that exploit capability. Yes, you have to read the game-specific rules because those rules might change. All right, like Rommel has completely different rules versus regular exploitation units. Like, no matter what unit Rommel's with, all units in that stack are now exploitation capable, even if they don't have the numbers around their, or the color around their numbers. A unit that is in the enemy zone of control at exploitation phase beginning cannot move or overrun. Units which are not exploit capable cannot apply to move. So what that means is, if this is exploitation and it's his time to move, you got to leave this guy behind. In overrun, no, you're bringing everybody with you. The stack has to stick together. You just have to make sure that the movement is the same. You have enough movement points to do that, if that makes any sense to you guys out there whatsoever. So again, let's go over it really quickly, really light summary, and then we're done with this video. Number one, overrun. Whatever you're in, whatever the stack is full of, you have to keep the stack available. You have to keep them in the stack. You have to make sure that that stack has enough movement points to get to where you need to go and attack, right? So then you'll do the movement, they'll move together, they'll fight. If the other unit is forced away, everybody has to take that spot. You have to take the new spot where you push the guys out. Otherwise, normally, if you're already there, you don't have to worry about it. You can choose. You cannot do an overrun if you're already in somebody's zone of control. And remember, when you enter that zone of control, when you do the movement, boom, you got to pay at least 2 movement costs, including all of the terrain. So make sure these guys here have enough to get there. Okay, so let's move this guy back. All right, then exploitation. Here, let me show you the sequence of play. So again, overrun combat is done during movement phase. You're doing movement and combat in one shot. Then you're going to do all the regular combat, barrages, ground combat, and then exploitation comes. Okay? Exploitation comes. That's a whole new type of movement, new stuff. But it says if this guy was involved in an overrun, he could do it again. He could do another exploitation. So that's the beauty of exploitation. Think Panzers, you know, they're roping up the guys, they're going past them, breaking the front lines, getting past the getting back into the supply lines. Okay, so then they can do it again, but these guys that are not capable cannot go with them. So you can only bring these dudes. He has to stick around. This is exploitation. He cannot be part of it. Okay, but these guys here can. They go through the fight and they move back, and same thing, they have to take over the spot. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now remember that I'm reading from the SCS rules. I see what you said there, Wardrobe. Just remember, it's the SCS rules. The game-specific rules might change all of that. You cannot you can't just rely on just the SCS rules all the time. Here, the SCS rules for Iron Curtain, there's no supply in that game at all. So there, you just throw the supply rules right out of the game. So each game is different. So just be mindful of that. Okay? Other than that, that's about it, guys. I hope that the SCS exploitation and overrun rules are better clarified. If I missed something or if I just sounded like an idiot, please comment section. If I missed a rule, something in the rules, please show me your results. Okay, show me where you found those rules to be wrong, so I can make an addendum and right the wrong. Okay, guys, you guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. Wardrobe, thank you so much for for being here. I don't get many people talking. I usually am late, so a lot of people aren't on watching me. So I got 4 people now. I usually get 0, maybe 1 or 2. So you mean a lot to me, guys. Really, I appreciate you. You guys have a great night, and I am going to sign out. I may be doing a live of Enlisted. If you guys have ever seen Enlisted, the computer game, I'll be doing that here a little bit. I might just do a live just to show you what that's about. Really fun game. It's full of glitches, lots of cheaters, but I don't give it money. I just play it. It's a really, really gut-wrenching World War II skirmishing game. Tanks, you got tanks, planes, infantry.